Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this image. Now this picture has been made a little more interesting by breaking up the background and adding a little colour. This technique is very simple to do and will enhance all sorts of different subjects. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so what I've got set up so far is this plant which I've just placed on this table. And I'm going to be using this full-frame digital SLR to capture the images, and this has a 24-70 zoom lens on the front of the camera. On the top of the camera here I have a flash sync trigger which is also capable of controlling the energy in the studio flashes. The camera is tethered into Capture One software, so it's easy to see the results as we go along. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this on this tripod. And we'll just line up the image. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just zoom that in a little bit, probably just to there to start with, and you can see that there's quite a lot of distractions in the background. So one of the first things that we need to do is just make our own background. And what I'm going to do is just use a piece of card and a C-stand to form a background. So I'll just pop the C-stand about here somewhere. I'm just going to use this piece of grey background card. Now, using card has quite large advantage over paper because it will give you a good surface. Sometimes you can get ripples, especially in background roll, and they can be quite distracting. Okay, so we'll just pop this here. About there somewhere. The idea of what I'm trying to do is put this in such a position so that when I look through the viewfinder I can fill the back of the image with just the card. Okay, so we'll have a little look and see what that looks like. Right, so with that in place you can see that I do need to just zoom the lens in a little more. So I'll just take it all the way to the 70mm end, like that. We'll just check the focus. That looks fine. Okay, so with that all done, next thing to do would be to just turn the camera on. Like so. And with the camera on, you can see the software has recognized the camera, so we can have a look at the settings that I've got at the moment. So it's in full manual mode. I'm on 1/250th of a second for a shutter speed, ISO of 100, and at f/16 as an aperture. Now I've picked f/16 on purpose. That will give me a large depth of field. So that way I'll keep most of the flower here in focus. Okay, so with that done, what I'll do now is just grab an image with no flash, just to make sure that I don't get any image. So the house lights aren't influencing the image at all, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is light the flower. So to do that, what I'm going to do is just place a softbox about here somewhere. So I'm going to use this Profoto B1X with a 2 by 2 foot softbox on the front of it. So I'm going to get it in relatively close, and I'm placing it so that most of the softbox is in front of the flower. So we need to get this in something like there. Just need to check in the viewfinder that I don't put it too close. That appears to be okay. And with that I'll turn the flash sync trigger on, and I'll turn the head on. There we go. So at an arbitrary energy level, we'll just grab an image and see what we get. Okay, so we can see from this image that it's looking a little underexposed, possibly 2 or 3 stops. So I'm going to add 3 stops of energy to this light and we'll have another test. So I'll just select that light add 3 stops, and have another go. There, now that's much, much better. You can see that the whole of the background here has remained more or less black. And the flowers look as though they're well exposed. I don't think they're over at all. I'll just turn on the exposure warning. Tiny little bit of clipping just on the edge here, but I can live with that, I think. So all in all, I think that is a good exposure for that subject. Okay, so the background, although it's grey, appears black because the light that we're getting from here isn't influencing it at all, and that's quite important. The main reason for that is because I've got this relatively close to the subject here. Therefore, from the inverse square law, this distance, the distance I've got between this light and the background, is much, much greater than the distance between the light and the subject. Therefore, there'll be much more fall off, and that will keep this black, which is what we want. Okay, so with that set, the next thing to do would be to set up the light to make the background a bit more interesting. So what I'm going to use for that is this Profoto D2. I'm just going to place this about here somewhere. And the idea of this light is that it's going to illuminate the background. So I'm just going to turn that on. And again, arbitrary energy level to start with. And I'm just going to grab a test image just to see what we get with it as it is. Okay, and you can start to see that it's actually just making the background ever so slightly lighter. We go to where we were before and what we've got now. But you can also see that it's influencing the flowers quite a lot as well. And I can show that by just temporarily turning this one off. So if I just turn this head off, like so, we grab another image. Yes, so you can see that quite a lot of the light is actually falling on the flowers, which is not what we want. So what I've done is I've just made a little spill kill. So this is just a tube of cardboard, which I'm just going to put on the front of the light, just like that. And that will just stop all the spill from the side of the light coming out and influencing the flowers. Probably. Let's just give that a try. There we are. Not completely successful, not far off. You can see that you're still getting something on the background. We're catching a small amount on the flowers themselves. Okay, so I'm going to increase the energy in this light, and to start with, I'm just going to take it up by, 4 stops? And we'll just see what that looks like. Okay, so at that exposure, you can see that I'm getting quite a lot of light on the card, but I'm also getting quite a lot of light on the flowers. And I'm going to address that a little later on. But first of all, what I'm going to do next is just set up this cookie, or as I call it, a piece of card with a lot of holes in it. This is actually the lid of a fancy box, and it has this interesting shape in the front of it. And we can make use of that to break up this light. So what I'm going to do is, just with the aid of this C-stand, I'll just pop this C-stand about here somewhere. I'm just going to clip this box to the arm of the stand. So I'll just take this up in the air a bit. And what this should do is break up the light into an interesting set of shapes. So I'm just going to clip this on here, like that. And just to aid me in setting all this up, I'm just going to turn the modelling lamp on this light. Okay, So you can see that as I move this around, I can move the shape on the background. Something like that anyway. So that looks quite interesting. So just turn the modeling light off. We'll just do a test exposure. There, we've got quite a nice background coming along now. So this is all breaking up quite nicely, but we still have this light falling on the flowers. So just to stop that, I'm just going to use a piece of card just to flag off the side of this light. Let's grab that again. There. That's exactly what we want. So now we have the background, but nothing on the flowers. Okay, so now I know that if I flag off the side of this light, that will stop it influencing the flowers themselves. So just to give it some colour, I'm just going to use this leaf filter 116 just on the front here. I'll just secure that with a little tape, like so. So with that in place, and just flag that off. There, so now we've got some colour in the background. Okay, so now I'll just turn this light back on, like so. And we'll just go for a proper take. So I'll just flag off the side here and grab an image. Yes, that's looking quite good. Let's just zoom in and check the focus. Excellent. Lots and lots of detail, well exposed, and no clipping. Okay. So as far as the image is concerned, that is captured now. But what I would like to do is just be able to tidy it up a little. I think the support that we've got here is taking away from the flowers in the final image. So what I'm going to do is just grab what's called a clean slate. So just the background without any foreground interest. So what I'm going to do, just remove the plant completely and just grab another image like that. And that has given me this background with no flowers in it at all. And I can combine that with the previous image in Photoshop to give me the final result. And that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. And I've loaded up the two files that I captured earlier. This is the flowers, and this one is the clean slate of just the background. So what I'm going to do is just make a stack of these two images in a different file. And the way I'm going to do that is just click on File, come down to Scripts, down to Load Files into Stack, add Open Files, and just click on OK. There we go. So Photoshop has made me a new file, which is this one here, which is a stack of these two images. So this is the foreground, and that's the background. So I can now use this to get rid of this support. And the way I'm going to do that is just add a mask to this layer, like so. And then with black selected as the foreground colour, I'll just find a paintbrush and literally just paint this out on the mask, like so. But because it's a mask that I'm painting, if I make any errors, then all I need to do is just go back to white, for instance, and paint those bits back in again. So I'll just take that back to black. We'll just get rid of that bit of support. There. And with that bit done, I don't think there's very much else to do to this image. So I'm just going to pick a crop. I'm using a specific ratio, and you could use something which suits your subject. So I'm just going to maybe bring that in slightly. Not a great deal. There. There, I'm quite happy with that. I'll just click on OK. And there we have it. So just by using this really simple technique, it's possible to add a bit of interest to a variety of subjects. And by adding a little colour with a gel, you can just lift it that bit more. And I think that's worked rather well. Okay, well, I hope you liked watching how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and click the like button. Thank you very much for watching.